because no. Okay. Normally now it's recording. Okay. Hi everybody. So we have in this class some of the students are coming from Master 1 last year, and others new students who attend this class for the first time. And we have also some online students who didn't attend the Master 1 last year. For this reason, today, for this first class, we will discuss about biometrics, and I think for students coming from Master 1, they are already used to the biometrics, and I would like to introduce biometrics especially for students coming from different institutions who didn't attend Master 1. So for my former students, for students coming from Master 1, it will be a kind of review, okay? And for the other students, it will be maybe something new. It depends on your background. So you can, of course, you can interact. You can ask the questions. And now, especially Master 1, based on what you saw last year, maybe you have much more experience, so you can ask maybe different questions. Okay, so it will be an introduction, which is just a review for someone, and maybe a new thing for other people. Okay. So don't hesitate to interrupt me if you need if any information required. Good. So maybe before starting, I would like just to ask this question for my former students coming from Master 1. Now, the fact that you have an experience, so what can you say about biometrics in using some few words? How can you define biometrics?
Biometrics, the term is from biology, and metrics is measurement, and it is a field that can be applied in security, healthcare.
So this is something very important. Why? Especially for new students. If you type biometrics in the internet in Google, okay, and even if you try to download some reports, documentations about biometrics, or even if you try to buy some books about biometrics, probably 80% of the information related to biometrics will be systematically associated to security. Why? Because maybe in our community, when we say biometrics, directly people think about security. And what we want to change is the fact that you have to think differently. You don't have to say biometrics equals security. And it should be much more larger. So look at this outline. I will try to give some general definitions about biometrics and different fields of applications. For new students, of course, you can ask questions based on your background. And for my students coming from Master 1, try to go further in the questions. Why? Because you have already worked in some projects. Try to think differently and to ask different questions because you have an experience. Okay? So, as I said at the beginning, we try to start with some definitions, and after this we will be talking about biometrics for security as just a special case. Once again, I'd say biometrics for security is just one special case among other types of biometrics. And at the end, we will be talking about different categories of biometrics. So this is what I use generally to define the term biometrics. And very often I write biometrics using two colors, the red color and the black one. Why? Just to separate these two terms. To say in biometrics, when I read the term biometrics, in any case, I will not see security or something else. I see just bio, and I will see the term metrics. Okay, bio is for biology, like an living organism, and metrics is related to measurement. So it means the idea is to measure something which is connected to biology. So it may be human being, it may be something like plants or animals or anything from this category. Okay? So this is the main definition of the word biometrics. If you start from this point, you will change your way of thinking about this topic. At least you can think about different applications. And you say, okay, now I can develop some useful projects, useful applications. If it's connected to biology or something like this, it will be useful. So I'm not obliged to develop some application just for security. Okay, so think about all the possibilities. So here in this slide, I would like to show some different applications or some different fields of applications. So of course, the well-known is the security. Basically, when we talk about verification and identification, we'll be talking about this later. In healthcare, can you maybe just give me some examples where or how can we use biometrics in the medical field? Yeah, scanner? Yeah. Ah. Am I right? Okay, this is what. Yeah, sure. So sometimes you can acquire using some scanners. You can use MRI. You can use some X-ray machines. You can use some ultrasound machines, to capture some images. And once you have the image, and the purpose is to maybe to measure some distances, you can try to detect some tumors or something like this. So here, if the purpose is to measure or to characterize some regions, you are in fact doing biometrics because you are doing measurements, okay, on a medical image, and this medical image is connected to bio, okay, measurement from something coming from bio. So even if it's medical image, it's also regarded as biometrics. So in biometrics, very often you need to measure, as I said, and to characterize. What does it mean when we say we characterize something? I give you one image or anything, and I say, can you characterize this information?
About classify it in specific class or getting more.
Characterize, the verb characterize or the characterization, it doesn't mean classification. Okay, it's different. Classification is another step after the characterization. Okay, so it's important for you before knowing all the algorithms used for characterization. It's important for you to know what it means. It's not to identify. I would like to say, okay, I will give you an example. If can I use your pen? Thank you. Okay, just I show you this pen. And I ask you, try to characterize this pen. For online students, it's for sure, yeah, maybe there's someone, yeah, Nita, who is online. Nita, I'm just showing to the students pen. I will turn on the camera, and I'm showing to the students this pen, and I ask them a question about, can you characterize this pen? So what can you say about it?
You can give the length.
Pardon?
The length.
The length? Okay.
Different color. The color of the
Okay, just tell me, give me some. Yeah, it's related to description. Yeah. When we say we characterize an image, we characterize a signal or anything, or even an object, is to find a way to describe it. Because in fact, if I show you this pen and I tell you, can you characterize this pen, probably you will say, okay, this pen has two parts. One part is blue, for example, the other part is white, and we have, I don't know, 3 or 4 buttons with different colors, and you can give the length, of course, of this pen. You can give also the weight of this pen, and so on. So you can say, I will characterize this pen by 4 or 5 parameters. And I will call each parameter P1, P2, P3, and so on. P1 is the color of the first part. P2 is the color of the second part. P3 is maybe the color of this button, and so on. P4, P5 is the weight, the length, and so on. So maybe for you, one student will characterize this object using 5 parameters. Maybe you will add, I don't know, 10 parameters. And here, you understand that when we talk about characterization, it doesn't mean that we have very specific rule to say you should characterize this thing like using these rules. No, it's up to you. If you want to characterize an image, a signal, or an object by just 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, or, it's up to you. So probably, I will give an example which is very important. Why I talk about characterization? Because everything is about characterization. Okay, now I'm showing to you this pen, and I ask you about characterization, and we talk about different parameters. But imagine I hide this object. Okay, I hide this object, and I will tell you the object I am hiding is like this. Like I start describing it. Okay, if I just tell you this object is blue, lot of things are blue. So is it enough to characterize an object just by 1 parameter, 1 color? It's not enough. Now, if I say it's half blue, half white, and after each time I give you approximately the length, the weight, and each time I add an information for you, the more I add parameters or information, the more you will imagine the thing. Okay, until you identify perfectly, the object. That's why when we talk about characterization, it's about finding values to associate to something which is real, When I say something real, it may be even if I take a chair, a computer, microphone, a wall, we can characterize everything. But in the IT domain, when we talk about technology, we characterize differently, because if you ask someone to characterize a pen, they will use some words, blue, red, I don't know, the length. But someone who is in the field of science, he will use maybe parameters. He will try to find some mathematical, meaning for the characterization. So you would say, okay, this pen, I will characterize it by 4 parameters. The first one, it describes this thing. Second one, it describes this thing. The third one, and so on. That's why characterization is very, very important. And sometimes, in the literature, sometimes people they use other words. And probably already you heard about features, and you heard about feature extractions. Okay? Feature extraction, it's also a characterization. It means you will try to find some parameters to characterize something. Okay? So if you take the example in the medical field, as I said, if you are analyzing a medical image, depending on what you are looking for, because maybe you are analyzing an MRI image or X-ray image, maybe you are looking for specific pathology, maybe you are looking for specific tumor or something like that. So you will develop a way to characterize the image. Because sometimes you can characterize it, but people will say, okay, you tried to characterize it, but the parameters you provided to me are not useful for my application. For example, in a medical image, if just you say, I see colors in gray level, white, black, and gray, it's not interesting for the application. So you have to find another way to use some to identify or to characterize the image. Okay? If we can also characterize the face, we can characterize anything. Okay. Here, this is in the medical field. Well, how about for the gaming? How can we use maybe biometrics for gaming? Give me some examples. Programming? Mm-hmm. Why programming? It doesn't make sense, because programming, you program something. Okay, but my question is about using biometrics for gaming in the gaming field.
When you play against the computer, using some movements.
Doing this measurement to interact.
Yeah, always think like this. This is my question. Was using biometrics. I want to use biometrics for gaming. What is biometrics? I need to capture data, measure. Okay. So is there, in some cases, some games, okay, where the system captures data from human being, from a body?
And using this data to interact with the game.
Yes. If you take, for example, Xbox or devices, so you can use them to capture some data, okay, from the body, and you create a kind of interaction between the human and the machine. Right? So biometrics in gaming, it means I will translate it differently. I will measure. I will capture some information from a human, and I will use this information for interaction, to create a kind of interaction with a machine. So always you think like this. If I don't know, I think I take the last. I take the last one. Biometrics for smart applications. Here also you can invent. You can think about any application where the starting point is measurement, and you make it, interactive. You interact with a machine, with the computer. Okay. So, can you give me any example?
Fingerprint. I'm looking the phone.
Pardon?
I'm looking the phone with a fingerprint.
But here maybe I'm in the field of security.
But it's a smart application also.
Sure. But maybe when I talk about smart application in general, without just pointing out just to the field of security. Something much more general, because here it's very specific. Security. Medical field is very specific. Gaming is very specific. Smart maybe can be anything.
Unmanned vehicles or self-driven vehicles, self-driven cars, or
Yeah.
it's one of the smart application maybe.
For driving, but how?
Self-driven cars or
Yes. Yeah, we can imagine, for example, a car, an automatic car without driver, and the car will capture, a human being. If, for example, we detect someone crossing the road, so we need to measure. We have to take a decision. Okay, we detect human body. We achieve some measurements, and we say, okay, probably this object or this region of interest is a human being. So I have to take a decision. Okay? So we can imagine a lot of applications. That's why in Master 2, you have to think about it. Especially you have a project to achieve. Think about your projects and make your project smart. Starting point, measurement. And the last point to reach is the application, so interaction with the computer. But always, if you measure something from bio, it's okay. Okay? Imagine different applications where you need to capture data from bio and make it integrated in a computer and make it useful. Because in this master, especially master 2, now, as you know, you will take many classes, maybe you will do some labs, but from my experience, I believe that people, they can learn much more when they work on a project. Why? Because in a project, you will face a lot of issues, programming issues, processing issues, application issues, integration, everything. And maybe you will need to capture, to characterize, to classify. So you do a lot of things. That's why I think try to make your application useful. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. So now, if we talk just about one field, which is the security, you have to use some specific also definitions. Working in the field, in the medical field, or working in security field or something else, biometrics will change. Definition will be a little bit different. Even if the main, the meaning of biometrics, or as I said, is about capturing information from everything which is bio. The result, or maybe the final result, will be a little bit different. So if you take for example, biometrics for security, very often we talk about what we call characterization, physical characteristics, or behavioral characteristics. This is in the in security. Very often we are interested either to extract features, some physical features, or sometimes we are interested to extract some behavioral features. As I said, okay, we talk about characterization, but the word features, you will meet it very often. And you will hear about feature extraction. And since normally you are supposed to be expert in image processing, video processing, each time you have a video or an image, you will try to extract features, characterization, okay, of characteristics. And these features will be just values, okay? So in security, we have physical characteristics and behavioral characteristics. So read just this sentence. I will try to use mouse here. So if you, I read this sentence, biometrics for security is to recognize persons from their physical or behavioral characteristics. Okay? It's about to know who are you. Okay? So, if we take just the first case, physical characteristics, so what can you say about this? What can you say? What can we extract as physical characteristics?
I don't know.
Physical characteristic, we can be interested on face, for example, hands, and even in the face we can be interested in extracting some features from the iris, from the ear, and so on. So this is the idea. So we observe something and we achieve some measurements from anything which is physical. So we can take as an example this fingerprint biometrics, very often used to either for identification or verification. It's very important to make the difference between identification and verification. So I will be talking about this later, especially for the new students. I know that students coming from Master 1, I think it's okay for them, but it will be just a review, as I said before. Okay? So for biometrics, for security, so we may be interested in fingerprint reader, fingerprints. So we have to use always sensors. Okay? Each time you want to extract physical features, you need sensors. So if the purpose is to deal with fingerprints, you have to use fingerprint reader. And you see this fingerprint reader, just you touch the sensor and you capture the image, and we can obtain something like this. What will be the next step once we have the image? Can you talk about characteristics and so look, we captured an image from the fingerprint. So it's captured from something bio, right? So it's biometrics. But now it depends on what you want to do with the fingerprints to make it connected to security or not. If you want to identify people, it becomes for security purpose. But maybe you can imagine other applications where we capture fingerprint, but maybe for another application. It's not forbidden to imagine another application where you capture the fingerprint, but the purpose is not to identify people. And in such a case, it becomes just biometrics, general purpose biometrics. Now, if you want to use it for identification, you have, of course, to extract some specific features. And these features for fingerprint are called, tell me the different points? Minutiae. Okay? So in fact, this minutiae and the as usual, you know, the term. So anyway, so positions of the minutiae and, as I said, the path that will be generated, okay, will allow you to extract a signature. Okay, I will see if I have, I don't know if I have my tablet to use my the pen. No, it's not here. Okay, anyway, because it's very difficult to use just the mouse. So anyway, so once you have extracted these features, you will have at the end what we call a signature. Okay, and this signature is just vector. Okay, I will write it. It will be a vector. And what is a vector? Okay, and this vector will contain parameters, right? Maybe P1, omega, we call them A, B, C, D, and so on. And this vector is also a signature that should be stored in database. Okay? So think about, we capture an image, we visualize it, we extract points, features, and after this we store these features in vectors. And we obtain a signature. It's up to you to what you want to do with this signature. If it's for security purpose, it's for sure we will use it for identification and verification. Remember, we said when we say authentication, verification, it means the same. It's the same word. Okay? So here, in terms of image processing, once you have, you know, it's like a zoom I did here, and we can just highlight, you know, the extremities, and we can extract all these points called minutiae. And of course, since it's an image, we can know what are the coordinates of each point, and we can store them in a vector to create a signature. So here it's a classical fingerprint reader, and sometimes in some applications, you know, the fingerprint reader can be integrated in some smartphones, tablets, and things like that. Okay? And remember, I showed to you this video last time. I don't know, I cannot maybe use it here, but I can send it to you by email. Do you remember what is this system for? Touchless. Okay, for people who, for new students, have you ever heard about this touchless fingerprint reader? In fact, this one, you know, compared to the previous one, you have to touch the sensor to capture the image. Okay? This one, to capture the image, the user should touch the sensor, and we capture the image. In this system, you don't have to touch the system, this platform, you know? what you have to do, just swap your fingers without touching it, contactless. Sometimes we use the term touchless or contactless, without contact. And we can have a kind of cameras here to capture an image. And once you have the image, you can have a sequence of image. That's why it's important to know how to process sequences. It's not just one image. What image, it's easy to process. But sometimes, especially if you swap the fingers and quickly, you need to have a sequence of images. And after this, you can analyze or process frame by frame, and you extract features frame by frame. Okay, so this kind of systems are very, very useful, but in terms of technology, it's a little bit difficult in terms of programming. So can you just give me the difference between, in terms of difficulty, if you compare the previous system and this one? What are all the constraints we can face using this kind of systems, contactless?
First application don't have to process
in the first application, I mean this one, okay.
Don't have to process the image.
You say you don't have to process?
Not with the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, but okay, here from this device, you will get an image. This is the input. One image.
Yeah.
But you said you don't have to process.
Not with the same way as
okay.
the second application.
So.
Yeah, for the second application we have.
Which kind of processing we can?
For the second one we have to.
No, for the first one, something basic. Which kind of processing you can achieve? Edge extraction. In fact, because at the beginning you have a certain quality, and what you have to highlight, you have to highlight all the edges here by using some filters. And after this, you have to detect, all the connections here. Each time you detect a connection, so there are some algorithms. Each time you detect a connection, you will get 1 point with given coordinates. Okay? So in this case, you have to process only one image. One image means a set of parameters. Okay? Now, if you take this system, as I said, you have to swap the hand, all the fingers. So you have to capture a sequence of images. And you have to process image by image. You have the first image, the second image. It's very difficult with the mouse. Okay, next time I will use the other system. Okay. So here, maybe when you capture sequence, maybe here you will have just one part of the finger to process. In the second one, maybe you will have another region. And the third one, there will be another region, and so on. So in fact, something your images. So as a first step, image selection, to say, okay, I discard this one, I discard this one, I keep this one, I keep this one, I keep this one, and maybe I discard this one. Okay? So sometimes you need to extract parameters P1, P2, P3. Why? Because you are visualizing only one region, one part of the finger. From the other frame, you will extract other features. And in the third one, maybe other features, and so on. And you will construct your signature. And probably you need to use what we call fusion. Do you know what's fusion? You have to fuse data, fusion, or data fusion. Data fusion, it's required basically if you have many sources. From each source you extract parameters, and after this you have to merge them. Yeah, to construct just one main signature. And we call this method fusion. So probably this year you will learn how to fuse data. Okay? So, you know, data fusion is a big topic. And there are many approaches of fusion, many approaches and algorithms to fuse, to achieve data fusion. Okay? So you capture data from different parts and you merge them and you construct something new signature. That's why it's very important for you to know how you have to process sequences, image sequences, how to process videos. In terms of programming, you should be comfortable in everything which is related to video processing. It means you should be able to read the video. When I say to read the video, it means extracting all the different frames from the video. In MATLAB, you can do many applications. You can take a sequence, and after this you can get all the different frames of this sequence. And after this you can apply image processing over each image from the sequence. At the end you can fuse your data. So what is the benefit in using contactless fingerprint systems compared to the other one? Speed? Pardon? I can.
Reliability.
Yeah, reliability.
Reliability, and also maybe somebody not like to touch some place which is certain by 1,000 people.
Yeah. I don't think it's about reliability because other sensors are reliable too, because you have one main image and everything is controlled. You have your region of interest, you extract all features. There's no blur in the image. The quality may be much more better, you know, in the classical system. But here, it's basically it's used if, for example, you develop an application and which is used by thousands of people, and all these people, they don't want to touch the same device touched by millions of other persons. I think this is the main reason. So if you make your application contactless, it's more interesting in some applications which for public application, yeah, sure. So, but at the same time, you will face many issues, technical issues,
and you should be able to process sequences. You should be able to use data fusion and so on. You have another problem, you know, in contactless systems, because imagine this is the sensor is here, and this is your fingerprint. This is your finger. So there will be a problem to normalize the distance between the finger and the camera. That's why, you know, in this system they added this platform, you know, just to limit the distance between the fingerprint and the sensor. Because otherwise, imagine one system without this this part, what will happen? Maybe someone will be at 1 centimeter from the camera, another user will be at 2 centimeters, and so on. So the images will be different, and you have to normalize them. What does it mean? It means you have to program, you have to develop an algorithm of normalization, so that if you capture data from any distance, you have to normalize it to a specific distance. So you have to program more and more. So by adding this type of devices, you will just limit the distance between the finger and the sensor, just to avoid programming or adding some complex algorithms. So, as we said, yeah, we can extract features from the fingerprint, okay, if you just the minutiae, but you can also extract features from the hand. So maybe you can extract just these lines. So how does it work in terms of image processing? If I give you this system, okay, and you say, okay, I would like to characterize this hand. Can you propose to me a method based on image processing?
Measure between the lines.
Get the lines.
Yeah.
Okay, I will ask you the same question but differently. We try to make it easy. Look at this system. Okay? The user is here and he will put his hand on this platform. Now, and I ask you, can you design a system, biometric system, working like this one? Try to design your own system. Can you just tell me, how can I design a system like this? What are the main devices that should be included? I can use what? A camera here.
To capture
So I can integrate the camera. Okay. What else?
Yes, reference points to
This camera should be connected to.
PC or
It may be connected to one computer, and this computer maybe is somewhere in another room. Okay. Okay. You have the camera. What else?
reference points to help hand.
So I have to take an image. If you take an image, I don't know if I have, yeah, you will obtain something like this, right? Forget this part, because in fact here we are using two cameras. If you want to have the front image and the profile image, just from this one. So you will get the first image. Okay, you will capture it. You will store it somewhere in your computer. And after this, what will be the next step? You have to process. How? what can you use as filters?
Well, since there is a solid background, it's easy to extract the hand out of the background.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Okay, let's use. Okay, I will try to with the mouse. It's not that easy. Oh my God, it's really difficult with the mouse. I will try to draw. Does it look like a hand? Yeah, imagine it's a hand. You have 5 fingers. I'm sorry, I cannot do it with the mouse. Okay, so you capture the original image. It will be, we will call it input image. This is the input image. After this, you have to process it, right? What will be the first processing? Segmentation? Okay. Maybe you need to isolate, because the region, what is the region of interest? Your hand. Okay? Your hand is region of the interest. So, maybe the first processing is to, just to have this region of interest, to extract it, using what? Using some maybe it's reshading, some filtering. You may have, for example, this region interest in white, and everything which is not interesting for you in black. 2 colors, white and black. And here you have 2 regions. At least you can work on this region of interest. You can do something else. You can detect only the contours. When you detect the contour, it means you will get only the shape. My God, yeah, this is not. You will have just the contour, and everything will be black here. Okay, so the information will be just here in the contour. And once you have the contours, okay, this is your image. Now you will start, tell me, extracting features. So what kind of features you can extract? So you can imagine now your image is stored in your computer in black and white. Maybe you use this first method where you use reshading and you have white region here and black region here. Or maybe you use some filters just to get the contours of the hand. It depends on what you want to do later. It depends on the characteristics that you want to extract. It depends on the approach that you want to use. So you are free to define, to select the algorithms, but at least you should be sure about what your images. To detect the contours, what can we measure?
the length of the finger, maybe.
So you can, for example, at the beginning, this is the image. You can say, okay, let's take a reference. I will take it here. And after this, I will measure. I can measure. I say I can. That means you should do it, but you can measure something else. So I can maybe measure the distance between this point and this point. If I measure the distance between this point and this point, it will provide a value alpha, right? If I measure now the distance between this point and this point, I will get beta. And I can continue measuring. You know, that's why in terms of programming, you should be able to measure distances between 2 points. So if I do it for 4 or 5 fingers, you will have 5 parameters. Alpha, beta, gamma, sigma. Okay? So in your first vector, you have just 5 parameters because each parameter is connected. It's related to the dimension, for example, of each finger. But maybe, it's not enough. Because here we are using only 5 parameters. And it's not forbidden to increase the number of parameters, and you can decide to measure something else, something different. For example, what can we measure? Before the shape, because here I've started just measuring distances between this reference and the fingerprint. I can measure this distance here. Okay? I can do the same here, and so on. So I will get the parameter P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, and I can integrate them in my vector here. So at the beginning, I use only 5 parameters, but I can complete by P1. Next time I chroma here, I will use a pen. It will be better because here I'm suffering with the mouse, really. Okay, P5. So do you imagine this vector of 10 parameters? So here you have characterized your hand with 10 parameters. And it doesn't mean that it's finished. You can, if you want, to add other parameters. I don't know, maybe the distance between this point and this point. Okay, or maybe this point, and so on. And you can create your vector, your signature, your features vector. Call it as you like. But at least you understand the idea of extracting features. So when we say characterization, when we say feature extraction, it doesn't mean that we have only one rule to respect, but you can decide if you want to use one parameter, 2, 3, 10, or 30, it's up to you. And even we can do something else. We will change the technique of characterization. Okay, I will draw once again a hand. And what I will do, I will take one reference like this here, and I will measure the distance between this reference and this point. Okay? I will have the distance, and after this, what I can do, I will just shift this point. I will move to the next point, and I will measure it again, and I move to the next one. Why? Because I have a contour here. Okay, I have a contour. So each time I move from one point to another one, the distance will change. Do you agree? So you can imagine this vector, this arrow, moving dynamically. Okay? And after this, you will arrive here, and you continue until the last point. So you can represent the shape. It becomes a signal. Do you agree with me? It becomes a signal. In fact, any shape can be transformed to a signal. Okay, you take any shape. I take a shape like this. I can calculate, I take a reference point. Generally, we call it centroid. And I select one starting point here. I will have starting vector, and I will try to move it surrounding completely the shape. What we will obtain? The signal. And once you have a signal, you can analyze it maybe in time domain or in frequency domain. Okay? This is just a way maybe to analyze some shapes that you can see, you will see in the future many other methods. This method is called, I will write it maybe, it's the Fourier, not transform, expansion. Fourier expansion, not Fourier transform. Using Fourier expansion, we can, in fact, obtain a signal from a shape. The input is a shape, and you transform it to a signal. And once you have a signal, you can analyze it in the time domain or frequency domain. Okay? So now, can you maybe imagine another method? But for Fourier expansion, probably you will do maybe some laps. It means we give you some shapes, any shape, and you try to analyze it. You transform it to signal. Okay? Do you have questions here?
Now, once we get the victory of the signal, we have to compare it with other victories in the database.
Yeah, now what we did so far, just we extracted features and just talking about feature extraction. Now, if you want to use these features for identification or for verification, here it's for sure you have to store, to save your data in a vector, in database. And you have to use the scheme which is related to biometrics. And I will show you the scheme later. Okay? But what I want you to understand is this idea of feature extraction. Because feature extraction requires image processing. Okay? So depending on your application, you know, when you design a biometric system, as I said before, you know, you have you have the input information, you extract features, and once you extract features, you will store them in database. Generally, it works like this. We capture, you capture data, you process, and you save in database. And after this, you compare. You compare, and the last phase is, tell me, you decide. It's a decision. You compare, you capture data, to acquire data, you should be good in maybe electronics, measurements, you should use good sensor. You will obtain your digital data. It may be an image, it may be a signal, it may be 3D object. Okay? Once you have the data, you know, you have to extract features from this data. You can extract features using different methods. So once you have these features, it means you have signatures, you have to store them in to store or to save them in database. After this, it's up to you how you want to use them. If you want if your application is related to security, so very often you have to compare. When you compare, after this you have to take a decision. Okay, so I have some slides about the standards that are used for biometrics, especially for security. It's always the same scheme, always the same block diagram. But just you have to know what are the different parts of the block diagram. So if we that's why, you know, in some projects, some of you may be people who are comfortable in electronics, they will be involved in measurement and capture. People who are good in image processing and video processing, they will be involved in this part. People who are good in computer science, okay, informatics, programming, so they will be involved in everything which is database and so on. So, and sometimes people, they don't need to be experts in electronics, they don't need to be expert in image processing, and they don't need maybe to be expert also in computer science, but they know how to integrate. They are good in integration. What does it mean, integration? It means you will play with different black boxes. Okay, black boxes. You know how to use your sensor. You know how to use the softwares to process your image. It's about integration. It means you can create an application just by integrating different parts. You don't need, for example, if for the fingerprint you need to use some algorithms of segmentation, feature extraction, sometimes you can find these algorithms ready to use. So you use the library and you integrate it in your platform, in your environment. In such a case, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Why? Because you say, okay, I know that for fingerprint I have to use segmentation methods, I have to use some selection methods, but I know that I can access to some libraries, some algorithms that have been programmed by other people, and I can use them. For this reason, you should be comfortable in integration. You create your environment and you integrate different libraries. Okay? But we will have some examples about this in other courses. If you have questions, let me know. Have you ever seen systems like this? Yes? No? So this one can be used to extract, you know, the palm print. Compared to the previous one where we captured just the fingerprint, here you can capture the palm print. And what can you imagine as processing for this type of images?
It's like a big fingerprint.
Yeah, it's like a big fingerprint. Because you need image processing, you have to pre-process the data. You have to define, always at the beginning, what you have to do, you have to define always what we call the region of interest, ROI. The region of interest. Always people, they ask, what is your region of interest? And here, maybe I can be interested in this region. I call it region of interest. Why? Because maybe I I'm not interested in capturing data related to fingers. And I call this region region of interest. Once you have the region of interest, you can decide to apply some methods, some image processing methods. Why? To extract features. Imagine I give this region of interest to someone who never did image processing. And I ask him, can you characterize this image? What would be the answer? My question, I give this image to someone who never used image processing. So even someone who is just 10 years old, I can give him this image. He would say, yes, maybe it's a black and white. Or maybe it looks like something. He can use words like it, right? But in fact, he is characterizing the image. But he is using his own language. For us, it's different. We have to find a way to characterize images like this. We have to find a way, we have to find a language so that all the different words, characterization, can be transmitted to your computer, because the computer is supposed to process the information. So we have to find a way to extract some values. These values should be used by your computer. And for this reason, we use image processing. It's up to you to decide which method, which algorithm you want to use to extract features. But before this, you have to decide, you have to know, what can I extract from an image like this? Maybe you can decide, okay, let's maybe highlight the lines. Okay, all these different lines here. And after this, I will play with these lines to measure the length. And I say, okay, this line, it starts from this point until this point. So between these 2 points, I have one line. And this line, it's in fact is a curve, not just straight line. It's a curve. And if I give you a curve, how can you characterize a curve? Can you tell me? Okay, if now I show you a curve like this, because if I show you a line like this, okay, I know it's not a real line, but just imagine it's a line, straight line. How can you characterize it? X and Y coordinates. This is what Nisa said. Do you agree? If it's just a simple line. Just what? X? This is. How can you characterize this line?
Okay, 0 and some numbers.
Can you tell me, just I will ask the question differently. Mathematically, how can you write it mathematically? What is Y equals A X plus B. So what are the parameters of this? A. If I give you A and B, normally you should be able to have the line. 2 parameters. Okay? So now, instead of using a line, it may be something different. may be a curve. It may be something parabolic like this. Anything. And here, what can you use to characterize curves like this?
And model is a mathematical.
Yes, I'm talking about mathematical models. Yeah. What do you want to segment? Don't segment anything you see. Before segmenting, take time to see if there is something easy to use. So, if I give you, if the curve is like this, parabolic. So, you can write the equation of this parabolic curve, right? So, each curve can be characterized by some mathematical equations. So, instead of using 1000 parameters, just if, for example, for the line you use A and B and you have the line. And here it will be the same because the mathematical equation will be different. It will be x squared or even x minus alpha squared, okay, plus b plus. So you need only these parameters. You don't need to know all the values of the curve. You don't need to access to all the values of the curve. What you need just the mathematical equation and you need the parameters. Why? Because if I give you the mathematical equation and I give you the values, you will be able to construct any curve. So, as an exercise, what you have to do in MATLAB, believe me, try to generate different curves just using some mathematical parameters. Think about something which is called the polynomial modeling. Have you heard about polynomials? Okay, so we have a polynomial of the order 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. In MATLAB, you can generate different polynomials, different curves, just by changing the parameters. So, for example, a curve like this can be modeled by some polynomial curves. Imagine that you acquire your curve over 2,000 samples. You have 2,000 samples. Here we have a lot of samples, okay? It's a pity, you know, to store 2,000 samples in a vector, or maybe more. Because in fact, maybe you don't need to use this. If you know what is the mathematical equation of this curve, what you have to say, you keep only the parameters of the equation, not the values, not the values of the curve. This is the difference. Someone who if you, for example, you don't have experience in signal processing and image processing, what you will do once we give you information like this, you will keep just the pixels or the samples. First one, the second one, third one, and so on. Maybe you have 2,000, maybe you have 10,000 points. Okay? But if you think differently, you say, okay, no, we can model this curve. And instead using sample by sample, I will use one equation, which is the model, plus I will add, of course, the parameters of this equation. So in fact, what you need to save only the parameters of the equation. Because just you say the shape is parabolic, the shape is polynomial, and these are the parameters of the polynomials. In MATLAB, you can do it easily. In MATLAB, you can do something. For example, when you have time, try to have a look on modeling signals using polynomials. Okay, I will write modeling signals by polynomials. Okay? So, what does it mean? If I give you any shape, you can approximate it. Okay, I say you can approximate it. It's about approximation. You can approximate it by a polynomial of a certain order. Okay? So, it may be a polynomial of order 2, 3, 4, anyone. So have a look on MATLAB. Use as keyword polynomials, and you will see some simple illustrations how to approximate curves. It's very important, very interesting. Why? Because sometimes when you use some sensors, you can capture some curves, and these curves have a given shape. So sometimes we can use polynomials to approximate the curve. Sometimes we have to use Fourier transform, sometimes we have to use other models. So the idea here is to use one model, one mathematical equation, which depends on some parameters. And these parameters, if you find the right parameters, you can obtain the correct signal. Okay? Why I'm showing this to you? Because, as I said in the previous, okay, I will remove this one. Yeah, if for example you are interested in analyzing or modeling maybe one curve, you extract one curve from the palm print, maybe it will be something like this. So you can approximate it by polynomial if you want, but it's not the only solution. Okay, it means the idea behind this is to find a mathematical equation to each shape. We call this modeling. You have one shape. In front of this shape, you say it corresponds to this mathematical model. And each model depends on parameters. If you optimize your parameters, you can obtain the shape you are looking for. Why? Because when I say if you take a simple model to generate straight line, what is the model? The model is, we said, it's y equals ax plus b. This is mathematical model, and the parameters are a and b. Do you agree with me? If I change a, what will change in the line? No. The slope. The slope. Okay? If you change a here, if you change a, what will be changed is the slope of your line. So if you play with a, normally, you can do it in MATLAB. Play with a, you will see that your line will change direction. And now if you play with B, what will change? Yeah, shift. You will see that your line will be shifted like this. You see? So all the lines have the same slope, but they are shifted. And you can shift it just by adjusting this parameter. So you have to think about models. We can imagine any model, y equals a x squared plus b x plus c. This is another model. Or maybe y equals sine of x squared power 3 plus bx squared, and so on. I mean, this is another model. And you can add here alpha, you can add here beta, and so on. And so you will have your mathematical model which depend on parameters alpha, beta, gamma, and so on. So each time you change the value of alpha, beta, the shape will change. So that's why you have to understand what is a model. Model is a kind of mathematical equation. And each model depends on a certain number of parameters. When you adjust these parameters, it will provide different shapes, different behavior. Okay? Maybe we can take just a break, and after this we finish. Okay, 15 minutes. Okay, we go back at 3:15. Okay? 3:15. Okay, so welcome back. Online students, can you hear me? Are you here? Yeah. Just one question. How about the sound quality? Is it okay? Is it good? Can you hear me properly? Yeah. I asked you just because we changed the microphone. That's why I asked you if you can, if the quality is okay. Okay, good. Laurent, when I say, I see, yes, it's good, but are you using headphones or? No, you say, yes, it's good. You are not online. Okay. You said, yes, it's good. Yeah, I see Laurent Châtelain. It's crazy. I see Laurent Châtelain connected. Excuse me, just who said yes, it's good? Please just write your name. Because we see Muhammad Ali the Clyde. Please give the complete name. Because just we have a problem. The name which is displayed is Laurent Châtelain. And say it. Laurent will check. Because maybe just a problem of account. Okay. Okay, we will check for this because just yeah, there's just something wrong in the names, but it will be solved. Okay. So Laurent, you can check for this. Yeah. Okay, good. So we try just to finish, a short session. If you have questions, don't hesitate. Ask questions. Let's move to the slide. Okay, look at this slide. Yeah, probably you have already you have seen this slide. It's another modality to use in biometrics to identify or verify people. And very often, in some classical methods, we use what we call fine print capture in the visible light. It means you use just visible light with a simple camera to capture the hand. And after this, you will process the image by extracting some lines, traits from the hand. Okay? And here we are using the visible light. The problem in biometrics, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if we discussed about it last time or last year, the problem of spoofing. Have we discussed about the spoofing? So can you say something about the spoofing? I don't know if new students, have you heard about this term, spoofing in biometrics? Yes? What can you say? You don't remember? A spoofing problem is basically, imagine you are using biometric modality, fingerprint, face, or anything, Spoofing is the idea of to attack the system. Okay, to attack the system. If, for example, in your system, someone is enrolled, he is authorized to use this classroom, and he will be using, the biometric system. He's enrolled, and when using the biometrics, no problem. But imagine someone else who is not authorized to use the classroom, and he will try to attack the system to use the identity of someone else. Okay? So if he finds some solutions to attack the system so that the system thinks that he is someone who is enrolled, in such a case we can talk about an attack, about spoofing. If it's a face recognition system, in general, people in face recognition system, they just have to be in front of the camera, and the camera will capture the face, and of course the image will be processed, some features will be extracted, compared to a database, and if there is a matching, you will be, you can, for example, access to the classroom. Okay. Now imagine someone else will use a mask of your face. He's not enrolled. Normally he's not supposed to be in the classroom. But he will say, okay, I will try to attack the system. And he tries to use a mask of to have face of someone else, just by using a mask. So if the biometric system is not equipped by anti-spoofing system, in some cases he will be authorized automatically. Why? Because when capturing the image, the image which will be captured, it will look like the original one. Why? Because the guy used a mask to someone who is enrolled. So the camera, classical camera, cannot make the difference between something which is real and fake. Okay? Real face and fake face. Real hand and fake hand, and so on. So for this reason, any biometric system can be attacked if it's not equipped by anti-spoofing system. So for the hand, it's the same. To overcome this problem, what we can do, instead of using just a visible lighting, what we can do, we can use infrared. Okay? Because if you use the infrared, some information will be visualized, highlighted. It's like, for example, here, in this example, if we use the infrared, we will be able to see the veins, okay? Because maybe if we do visible light, it's impossible, not impossible, but it's not that easy to see all the veins. So imagine someone presents in front of the camera a fake hand. It may be just photography to spoof, to attack the system. So if we use the infrared, veins will not appear. Do you agree? For this reason, maybe if we use the infrared, at least we can highlight all the veins. We can see if it's real or fake. And when you highlight all the veins, what kind of methods, algorithms you can use to extract features? Starting from this image, what we can do, you can, at the beginning, you can pre-process the image. It means you have to isolate, region of interest is this one. You can enhance the edges if you want. And after this, by some filtering, you see the difference between gray level here, in the contours for the veins, and this texture is not the same. So you can use some algorithm, some filtering, so that you can highlight just the veins. And once you have you obtain these veins, you can extract some minutiae. It's like in fingerprint, and each minutiae here corresponds to some coordinates, and you can store these coordinates or these features in one vector. Okay. So what you have to understand is that palm print using infrared or vein biometrics is very often used, especially if we want to prevent attacks. Okay, but you will see. We'll take some classes about spoofing and anti-spoofing, because it's very important in biometrics, because you can imagine a real finger and fake finger, real face, fake face, real ear and fake ear, and so on. Even real iris and fake iris. So how can we make a difference between real and face? How can our system detect the fact is someone tries to attack the system? That's why it's important to develop some systems to make the difference between everything which is real or fake. So just here you have some systems, to capture the vein palm print. So it may be here equipped by, we use the infrared, and with that compact, you don't need to attach completely the device. We can capture the region of interest. We have some other your images. By people, you can use also iris for authentication or verification. So, do you remember the story of this person? Yeah? Yeah. This one in 1985, she was, I think, just 13 or something like this. And the photographer called Steve McCurry, he took this photo in 1985, and after this photo becomes very, very famous. I think it was in the region of Pakistan or Afghanistan or something like that. But this photo was very, very famous. And 20 years later, he went to Pakistan, Afghanistan he tried to find this person. And it was very, very difficult for him. And you can even, if you can go in YouTube, you have all the story in YouTube. You can understand what he tried to do to find this girl. So finally, he found her because some people helped him. Some scientists helped him, and what they used iris analysis to be sure that the person they found was this little girl. So what they did, they tried to analyze or to extract features from the iris. Why? Because at that time, when they knew that the journalist is looking for this girl, many people, they said, yes, it was me, and he faced many issues because he wasn't sure if this old woman is really the one who is in the photo, and it was really very complicated to be sure if she was the right person. That's why each time they try to compare, information extracted from the iris until they found that, you see, 20 years later, it's the same person. So you see the face is not exactly the same before because of the aging. So they tried to analyze just the iris. So they extracted the iris and they started analyzing all the features. But at that time, they didn't use some advanced methods of iris analysis. They used some very basic methods, But at least it was possible to extract these features. If I ask you just a question, can you characterize an iris like this without mathematics, without parameters, without anything? What can you say if I ask you this question? Try to characterize this iris.
The color.
Yeah, you can use the color. If you use the color, it's one parameter, P1. And you can give it a value. Okay, what else? It's not totally blue here. You have in fact two. Okay, you have two colors. So yeah, you can say I have two colors, maybe blue and brown. And here it's like you provided just two parameters. But is it enough to identify someone? No.
Thousands of people have the same.
Even millions of persons, yeah, they can have same characteristics. That's why with image processing you can extract some other features, because two parameters are not identified to distinguish between two persons. In image processing you can deal with hundreds, thousands of parameters easily. Okay. I don't know if maybe in the next slide, yeah, in the next slide just we show maybe some basic methods. And this year normally you will take some classes about iris and you will process the iris. For example, at the beginning of course you need to segment. Why we do segmentation? To get the ROI, region of interest. What is our region of interest here?
The iris and not the pupil.
Only this part. Excuse me. Okay. It's for this reason we can use image processing just to isolate, the region of interest. So we have to discard all this information is not useful for us. All this information is not useful, and we don't need this information here. Why? All people have this information with black color, so it's not interesting. So that's why we try to get this region of interest, and to extract this region of interest you have to apply segmentation methods. Last year you saw how to segment some images, right? Not too much?
Not the text-based stuff.
Yeah. This year you have to practice on this kind of images, and you should be able to extract your region of interest. So segmentation, very often segmentation can be used. Okay, I will write it. Segmentation can be used for to extract your region of interest. And once you have the region of interest, wait, here, you will just notice something. Here, you see the shape of the region of interest. In image processing here, at the beginning it was like this. Okay? Using image processing, we can enroll or enwrap your region of interest, and you will transform it to an image like this. It's like you open this image, okay, you unwrap it, and it becomes an image, classical image. And after this, you can apply some filters, and you keep just some parameters from this image. That's why you can notice here this small image. You see? In fact, this small image is coming from the region of interest, which is here, which has been unwrapped or unrolled, and after this, processed. When I say processed, it means we extracted some features from the image, and these features will be used as signature, and this signature can be used for verification or identification. Okay, so always the starting point, you capture, you process, you extract features, and you take a decision at the end. Any biometric system, we capture, process, extract features, and of course we save the data and we take decision. So you have some systems like this, some small systems. You know, this one is very small. It's around 10 centimeters. And normally you should be in front of this system. You can see this green spot here. At the beginning it's red, and you try to be closer to this device. If the distance between the camera and your eyes is correct, the light turn green. At the beginning it's red. It means you are far from the camera, and you try to be closer and closer until the light turn green. Okay. After this, the cameras will capture the iris. The images are stored, and after this, processed by segmentation and feature extraction. And of course, we have other systems, what we call, you know, how to say this, distance iris. Yes, you know, we can capture the iris from a certain distance, maybe 1 meter or 2 meters or even more. Sometimes even from 10 meters we can capture the iris. Especially if the person is not moving, it's easier. Because if the person is moving, in terms of processing, it becomes much more difficult. So here we equip the system with a camera. You can see here this small region where it's written look here. So just you have to fix the camera, and we capture, of course, the image, and after this we use some segmentation method to extract the iris. So at the beginning we have just a region of interest. We unwrap the region of interest, we transform it to a simple image. After this, we use some algorithms, and normally you will take some labs on this. We give you some iris images, and after this you try to extract features from these images. Okay. And of course, yeah, I don't have the video. That is what we call biometrics or iris on the move. Iris on the move, it's basically if the person is moving, is working, we try to capture the iris from a given distance, and we don't ask the person to be stable. Okay? So we use a video camera, we capture a sequence, and from this sequence we can select which image we can keep. And because with the video sequence you will obtain a set of images. Okay? first of all, you have to select which one you have to keep. Why? Because in some images, maybe some images are not useful. Why? Maybe because the person is blinking or maybe closing the eye. So when you analyze the image here, you will find maybe the eye is closed, so it's not interesting. So you have to select which image you have to use. Once, if you are sure that you detected the right image, after this, what you can do, just you apply some image processing method. But here it's much more complex, than the previous system. It's not that easy. It's complex in terms of programming. It's complex in terms of algorithms, because you have to select which image you have to use. You have to process the image. You have to use many algorithms and so on. So Iris on the move is a new technology, and I guess in few years probably will be able to identify people from a certain distance. So even we don't need to ask people to cooperate, to be stable, to look at the camera. So just we let them working normally, and the camera tries to filter. Yes.
About the iris on the move, I read something regarding the police trying to capture the iris from the mirror of the car. For example, if the police is chasing someone, so the first thing this one will look at the mirror. So they're trying to do something about the iris based on reflection of his eye from the.
Yeah, but it's not that easy. It's very, very complex. Why? Because when you capture the iris, the problem is the quality of the image that you captured. And now there are many people, many research teams who are working just on the quality of the image. They work in the field of biometrics, but they are interested in the evaluation of the quality of the images. Why? Because we know if the quality of the image is not good, even if you use the best algorithm in the world, it doesn't work. Okay? That's why you have to be sure that you are working on good image quality. And capturing an image at a certain distance and on the move with different lighting conditions, believe me, there are a lot of research labs just working on this. It's not that easy. So you should be aware about this problem of the lighting, conditions of, capture conditions. It's too difficult, and even so far we cannot say that we have reliable systems that really work properly. Because, as I said, problems of the lighting, problems of the stabilities of the region of interest, when you have everything is on the move, it becomes very, very complex. So people interested in research are working in this field. Otherwise, if you are not interested in research, it's much more interesting to work on some basic biometric systems, but just you try to know how you integrate all the different solutions in some specific environments. So people who are interested in the industry, you should be comfortable in maybe integration, programming, but you don't have to think about some new things, some very, very complex concepts. Otherwise, you will never find the solution, because if we start doing something in research, it means it requires a certain number of years of experience and things like that. So for you, not for you, I mean for people interested in the industry, you have to be aware about different problems. You have to be aware by the fact that when you capture data, face, fingerprint, iris, if the image that you captured is not of good quality, performances of your biometric system will decrease for sure. That's why be sure that you have a good image quality before starting processing. If the image is bad, you have to make much more effort in processing, and nothing is sure if you can really extract something useful. Okay? So maybe for today we can stop here, and next day we try to see something else. As I said, for some students it will be a kind of review that from time to time we try to discuss some advanced methods. And for other students, maybe it's new, but at the same time, yeah, don't hesitate to ask the questions before starting working on face recognition, because for the moment it's just a review of different methods. And after this, you will start working on face analysis and face recognition. Okay? So see you next time for another course. Thank you and bye.